Check, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Turn it up, turn it up.
Welcome to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast.
The tides are turning, the time is now.
Your home for the mindset, methodology, and tools needed to invest in foreclosures.
Don't you dare buy a house, buy a deal. You need to get into this right now.
Right now, yeah.
And now your host, the Foreclosure Deals Coach, Donnie Corum.
Hello, and welcome back to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast. Oh, thank you. You're all too kind. I am your host and Foreclosure Deals Coach, Donnie Corum, recording live from our downtown studios with some interesting news for you Foreclosure Deals fans who have been listening to the show. I think we've been at this for about 2 years. Have some interesting news for you. Mr. Jonathan Winston is no longer the executive producer of the show. He's moving on to a bigger project. We're super excited for him. He helped the show get this far, and we know everybody loves Jonathan. We've got great news, though. We have a new executive producer with the show, Mr. Chris Lawler. Make some noise out there for Chris. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I am happy to be here, happy to take the show in a new direction and grow the audience. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, we're so excited to have you. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. Obviously, we're currently working on the 5 F's of Foreclosure Investment System course. That's going to be a huge course coming by to a lot of people who want to do the full coaching product, who are maybe not in a financial position to do it, or they don't have quite the market for it just yet, can learn all about investing in foreclosures from a do-it-yourself course from home. That should be out here coming soon. We're taking on a lot more coaching clients heading in the fourth quarter. I've got a really interesting article coming at you guys today, coming from one of our favorite housing rags out there, Housing Wire, and Housing Wire reports. And I don't know who comes up with these topics, but this one even scared me, and I'm usually not affected by this. But they started with the housing market correction will be deep and ugly.
Oh, that sounds scary.
I don't know if that's the one I was looking for. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It works.
Anyway. So what does that mean? What are they trying to say with that? Well, here's the thing. If rates do climb into the 7s, okay, and right now, if you haven't been paying attention and or living under a rock and or are not really in the show, maybe this is your first time tuning in, I don't know why you wouldn't know this, but rates climbed in the last 3 months. We saw rates go from an average, let's call it mid-3s, early 4s, to today they're pushing 6s to 7% interest rates. And obviously, that had a relatively negative impact on the economy. As a matter of fact, right here in Colorado Springs, where we do most of our business, we have like 7 properties currently listed on the market that are just sitting. This will actually be a good time for the crickets, because we're trying to get these things sold, and it literally is crickets right now. It's insane to me, right? So what's causing that? Well, a big part of what's causing it is when the rates increase, the buying power of the buyers goes down. So this article is going on to say, we got Jerome Powell, who's the chairman of the Federal Reserve. They keep raising the rates, and he's saying we're trying to slow down inflation. They quote Powell as saying, builders are having a hard time finding lots, workers, and materials. What we need is supply and demand to get better aligned so house prices go up at a more reasonable pace and people can afford houses. Probably the market needs to go to a correction to get to that place. Okay, I want to note the probably here, okay, because Jerome Powell is like the head honcho of the entire U.S. economic money supply, okay? So when he says probably, it's because no one really knows what it's going to take to get this back on track. But to his credit, I guess, he is trying to find an answer that's going to make housing affordable for the long term. Here is the danger, though. Okay, when you start messing with an industry as large as the housing market, you have this tendency, as we saw in 2008 through 2010, to not just affect the local housing market in the U.S., but the entire global economy. Okay, and that's the danger, what the game that these guys are playing. And as they're playing this game, they're admitting that their objective in this article is to basically reset the housing market. What does reset mean? Chris, give me your take on that, Chris. Reset. What do you think that's what they're trying to say on a reset? What do they want?
I have no idea, but it sounds like they want to start over.
They want to start over, right? And in order to start over, you got to drag. Anytime you want to start something over, you got to start from zero, right? Remember when you had Atari? Do you have an Atari as a kid? You're a gamer.
I'm a gamer, but that's a little bit before my
your
time.
Oh, so thanks for making me feel old, bro. I really appreciate that. So I had an Atari when I was a kid, and an Atari, when you screwed up, actually, this went on to Genesis. This one is the Atari. I remember when you screwed up in that game, that era, you literally went and hit the button on the console that said reset, right? You went from, if you were on level 3, you were now back at level 1, like when you open up that game. That's what they're proposing for the housing market right now. The problem is reset to when? What is the beginning of the game in housing? No one knows. All we know is that sometime in the last 2 years, there's this massive increase where we saw 30, 40% appreciation over the past 2 years. So they're trying to figure out where the housing market is heading. And right now, the mortgage market is thinking they're going to be somewhere in the high 6s to the early 7s. Now, that was a problem in 2010, 2011, where houses were quote-unquote affordable. But when you're talking about a housing market that's now the average price of a home here in Colorado Springs is now over $500,000. Okay, so when you're talking about trying to do 5 to 7% interest rates on really expensive properties, I think we've got ourselves an issue here. Okay, the goal here is a market reset. Now, I didn't bring you on this show to scare you. Right? You're not listening to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast to be terrified or suicidal or somehow to get depressed. Though I've heard some really depressing podcasts that do just that. There's a couple of them out there that I think are trying to get people to hurt themselves. It's a very weird thing that's going on.
Let's not do that.
Let's not do that. Instead, we're trying to figure out how to empower you to take advantage of the market that's coming up. So how do we benefit from a housing reset? Well, here's what happens the last time we saw a housing reset back in 2008. Logically, prices are going to drop. Okay, so number one, we have to see prices come down. But can they come down enough to make a 6% or a 7% rate affordable? Well, when you talk about that in Colorado Springs, when we were in 3% on an average price point house, we did this at my sales meeting this morning, when we were at 3% on an average $500,000 house, your payment was running about $2,200 a month, right? That was the typical payment for that. Today, that same property at 6% is like $3,200, $3,400 a month, give or take. So it's come up. The rates have nearly doubled, but keep in mind, you're just paying interest. So the interest went up by a certain amount. That's not your entire payment. You know that already, right? So we're calculating what the interest went up, and we're talking about $1,000 to $1,200 a month increase. Now, a lot of people are going to go, I can't afford that amount of increase on my monthly housing expense, so I'm going to rent. They're going to look for safe haven in renting. But here's the problem there. See, rents went up too. They haven't gone up as fast as the interest rates have allowed mortgages to go up, but they're not going to find safe haven and renting. They're going to have to make a housing payment of some kind, and the landlords aren't stupid. I own 13 rental properties myself, and I can tell you we are definitely charging more for rent now than we were 2 years ago, and that's probably substantially less than we're going to be charging 2 years from today, right? So at some point, the math has got to balance out, and what he's saying is people can't afford to buy, so everybody's going to rent, which is what happened when the rates first went up. But now a bunch of people who can't sell are putting their houses on the market, causing a massive increase in the number of houses available. And now what you're looking at is you can't rent because people aren't renting. You can't rent if you're an owner, right? You're in a position where if you put your house on the market to rent right now at what you think is a pretty suitable rental rate, you may not get it. And if you got your property for sale right now, it is literally crickets. We're just not getting showing traffic. We're not getting any sort of issue. So how do we as foreclosure investors benefit from that? Well, just a few short weeks ago, I found one HUD foreclosure property in the market that allowed me to buy a property well below market that was a government foreclosure. But guys, that's the beginning. It just takes one. In other states all across the country, we are seeing a high level of foreclosure filings. Here in El Paso County, Colorado, foreclosure filings are up 800, maybe 900%. You need to listen to what I'm saying here. 8 to 9 times what they were not a year ago. Okay, so there's going to be a ton, and I mean a ton of foreclosures hitting the market. Now, if you combine that with a bunch of sellers not being able to sell, inevitably prices are going to come down. This is an excellent opportunity for a well-educated foreclosure investor to understand that now, and it's not like I haven't been saying it for 2 years, it's not like I haven't alluded to this crisis coming for the entire time this show has been in existence, but now, today, it is happening. Inventory is up. Rates are up. Foreclosure filings are up. If you're going to invest in real estate, the time to do it is absolutely, unequivocally, unquestionably right now. And I'm always dramatic, so it's not like I'm being overly dramatic right now, but in the end, you've got to get your head acclimated around here. So you're thinking, well, Donnie, I don't know how to get started. Right? Housing Wire is telling you what's going on. I'm telling you what's going on. And you're sitting right now because you may not know, and I'm not trying to be mean. I'm saying that a lot of people are in your spot, myself to some degree included as a real estate investor, on where do we turn now? What do we do right at this moment? Can I make a suggestion? Of course I can. It's my show. So the suggestion is right now you start getting educated. You need to understand how a receding market looks. Most people who got into the industry, your real estate agent population, your mortgage broker population, most of the people who got in the industry did so in the last, let's call it 4 to 7 years, okay? Because the getting was good, people were making a lot of money, and industries that are making people a lot of money tend to attract a lot of people. It's a good thing. If there's a shortage of construction workers, a bunch of people go into construction. Right? Because there's money to be made. There's a ton of money to be made in the medical industry. Coronavirus created a whole new industry for medicine, so a lot of people are going into medicine right now. My daughter, 18 years old, she's currently studying in school to go into medicine. And although I may not be a big fan of college because I believe that the education you can get outside in the quote-unquote real world is awesome, I'm proud of her. I'm proud that she's going after an industry that is going to see a ton of growth in the next coming years. Listen to what I'm saying. As foreclosure investors, as real estate investors, we thought the opportunity was when the market was super easy and things were going well, when the reality is the time to get into investing is when everybody is trying to get out. Does that make sense? Warren Buffett put it best. The secret to my success has always been finding out what the general masses are doing and then doing the opposite of that. Okay? Everybody is selling. I'm trying to sell my inventory of properties, okay? So why am I not joining with the team? I want to sell at the highest point I can get because when this bad boy bottoms out and your guess as to where it's going to is as good as mine, they put it in here, right? They know where the rates are going to go, but how low are prices going to go? Who knows? Okay, but we do know that if you are waiting for the collapse to happen to start figuring out what you're going to do next, you're already behind the trend. Okay, not a lot of activity is happening in real estate, so if you want to be a part of it, you've got to get educated. So how does one get educated in real estate investing? Well, you're already doing it. You're right here on the show, listening to the podcast, getting some knowledge, but if you're looking to take this to the next level, you need to be reading the Housing Wire articles. You need to be listening to more podcasts, watching financial news, and I get it. Your buddies are probably enjoying watching their rap videos on Yo MTV Raps. Is that still a thing? Am I old? Is Yo MTV Raps?
I'm not as young as you think I am. I have no idea.
Well, that's twice. You get twice of the age jokes, and it's pretty. I mean, we're really early for you as a new producer to be taking shots at me about. Anyway, we're gonna have a lot of fun on this show. I'm looking forward to that. You need to be spending the time. I'm doing it every single day. Right now, I'm working on creating a course, so I'm learning about course creation. I'm reading more about real estate. I'm reading more about the market. If you're going to figure this thing out, you've got to look at what happened in the past, and there's a lot of quote-unquote experts out there who are just going to guide you down the wrong route. I'm not one of those experts. I actually went through the 2008 crisis. I suffered with it. I didn't know what to do. I went and got a job. Right, I had to figure out how I was going to feed my family. I got out of real estate to support myself in other means because I had no idea. If I could go back and grab Donnie of 2008, just shake the crap out of him for a while, I would go get educated. Housing Wire is saying it's coming. We are definitely seeing a crisis in the market. The rates have caused that crisis. Inventory is spiking up. Rates are spiking up. There are going to be some incredible deals on the market. But you, at this stage, are wondering, where do I find those deals? How do I figure out what I should pay for those deals or what they're going to be worth later on? How do I pay for them through our funding? How do you get the money to do it, right? The big part you see on the flipping shows is how do I fix the house up to market? And then obviously you got to figure out how to flip the houses, selling the property, which right now is the hardest part of the process because houses simply aren't moving. All this stuff we have been here before. Okay, don't get it twisted like this is only happening to you. This is just the best time. All right, we have seen the highest rate increase since the early 1980s. Give that some thought. We have not seen such an increase in the rates since 40 years ago. Okay, so this has to have an impact on the market, and the people who are going to figure it out early are going to make a ton of money. Understand that wealth is not built in appreciating markets. You see it. You realize that wealth through the appreciating markets, okay? You see people buying more McLarens and driving around in their Lamborghinis, and you're watching these OnlyFans girls make millions of dollars. But let me tell you, this is a fabrication, okay? This is a ruse. Right? Like you can have your stock portfolio go up 800% and suddenly you're worth a couple $1 million. But until you sell that stock, until you take it out of the market, that is just a fabrication. It's not real wealth. The real wealth is being built right now. And unfortunately, for those who don't get educated about the market today, that wealth is going to transfer directly from the people who have a ton of equity in their homes, or at least perceive that they do, don't know what to do, end up losing their income or getting divorced or whatever situations people encounter that cause them to lose a home. And that equity is going to land squarely in the laps of the real estate investor. Okay, that's where it's going. We got to own up to that. This could be the best time ever in the history of real estate investing. Now, does it sound like I'm celebrating the losses of people? That's hard, right? It's hard to hear that people are going to lose homes. We went through this in '08, and then I'm happy about it. I'm not happy about it. I'm telling you it's going to happen anyway, okay? And the banking association, they benefit from it every single time, okay? The smart real estate investors, smart real estate agents, who switch to servicing real estate investors, they benefit every single time. I sure as heck did. Back in '08, I moved my entire business to assisting real estate investors to get rich. And I've got clients who made 7 figures and more during that crisis who call me up and thank me to this day. Hey, Donnie, thanks for what you did. You really helped me out. Okay, you as a listener to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast are tuning in to get actual real estate data, and in real time, I'm telling you, as a guy who's on the front line, not that you didn't hear it on CNN, not that you've not heard it on Fox Business already, not that you've not heard it everywhere else, but as the guy you've been tuning into, and I appreciate the long-term listeners who have been with me since the beginning. Listen, guys, it's happening. We've got to jump on board. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and I can't speak for what you're going to do, but I'm really going to translate a lot of the education, a lot of the deep dive stuff that I've been touching on here in the podcast for a couple of years, and I'm creating a course where you're going to be able to download and go through, getting to spend or having to spend, depending on your attitude, about 2 to 3 hours with yours truly, going through everything that I've learned over the past 17 years and over 300 flips to explain to you how to navigate this market. I am not going to kid you. I am super excited about what the future holds for this show, for me personally, for my family, and for the people who invest in education and get smart and learn about real estate investing firsthand. Okay, you can get your news secondhand, but by the time the press is reporting what's happening, you're already 2 years too late. Isn't that always true, though? Isn't it always true that people catch up later?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the news is always just reporting on what they're hearing in social circles. So right. They're waiting on the masses to bring that information to their attention.
Absolutely, right? They're getting their information secondhand to begin with, right? So if you're going to count on your news sources, including me, to be honest with you, I'm a news source, right? I'm reporting the news, but I'm trying to report it currently. I'm trying to get you an up-to-the-minute data analysis of what's going on, and that's why we bring articles in from people who are really reporting on again, you're hearing that it's bad. Okay, are you hearing how bad it's going to get? Well, no one knows, but I can tell you that there's two schools of thought right now. And one of them is to play Chicken Little, the sky is falling, and hunker in for a really bad storm and hope for the best. And my real estate brethren, all my friends out there, a lot of my mortgage buddies, unfortunately, that's what they're doing. They're preparing for a storm, just like Hurricane Ian that just hit Florida right now, wiping out the shells. They're bolstering for the storm. That is one option. You can ride it out. But a hurricane is semi-predictable in the sense that it's going to last a couple of hours, maybe a day, maybe two, right? This is different than a hurricane. We don't know how long this is going to last. We don't know how bad it's going to get. All we know is that Housing Wire and the market, they have openly said the objection here is to reset the housing market. They want to increase unemployment, decrease the number of houses that are sold. They are trying to collapse the economy as we know it today in an attempt to stall out inflation. Okay, and if I'm being a little conspiracy theorist, I'm going to tell you right before election season, they're going to come up with all these great plans to save us from ourselves so they can get an attempt to get reelected to do another 4 years in office. I don't know who the right answer is. Democrat, Republican, that's not what this show is about, okay? That's not relevant. I'm just saying the talking heads are going to come up with this big solution, but in order to create that solution, they first have to create this really drastic problem, which is exactly what they're doing right now. They're creating this huge, deep, scary problem, okay? And you can either sit on the sidelines and let the other guys get fat rich, like unfortunately I did as a real estate agent, didn't have any money or access to capital, or honestly the belief systems that I have right now that prove that I didn't need access to my own capital. I didn't need the things that I thought I needed to do, so I waited till about 2011, 2012 to really get active in my investing career, or you can hear me now. The time to learn this is when it's bottoming out, as it's heading down. Figure it out so when you see a sign of life, you can spring on that instantaneously, start making money from it. All right, so you want to get part of that? You want to be part of the conversation? Well, let's get started. You got to head on out to foreclosuredealscoach.com. Register there for my free ebook, The Hidden Foreclosure Market, where I'm starting to document where the best deals are going to be located. I'm going to tell you, in certain states, there's already a ton of these sources throwing off deals left and right. But I'm going to give you that book for absolutely free right now. I cannot promise to be free forever, but today I'm going to hand you that book so you can get started. Then, if you are ready to go to the next step, if you are ready to get going, you want to either consider getting a course, my course, or somebody else's course. Obviously, I prefer you picked up my information, but if I'm not the right guy, if maybe it's the sound of my voice, maybe there's something you just don't like, I don't know. You're listening to the show, you're still here, right? Whatever it is, if it's not me, you need to get educated elsewhere. Go pick up a book. Go to YouTube University. You've got to get educated because the money's going to be made. It's going to happen super fast. And this is not just about money. This is about impacting life change. You got to understand, people who lose their homes are going to need help. They're going to need to stay out of foreclosure. There are campaigns that are being set up by smart real estate agents like the infamous Monica Breckenridge, who we interviewed on a previous show, who's reworking her entire business to help those homeowners before they go into foreclosure. There'll be a whole industry on that. Foreclosure avoidance is going to take place. You've got to understand what's happening, how the market dynamics work, and how you can profit from it and help people at the same time. It's a huge opportunity. Now is the time. This is the place. I, hopefully, am your guy. With that, I've done enough yelling at you, but check this out. Go get the article. The housing market correction will be deep and ugly. We're going to post that to our Facebook group, the Foreclosure Deals Coach Insiders. Check out that Facebook group. Download the Hidden Foreclosure Secrets book. And you and I need to have a conversation. If you're ready to really capitalize on this, you and I need to talk about how you can join up with our transformation course, which is going to take just a handful of people and walk them through the process of finding, figuring, funding, fixing, and flipping their first and subsequent houses in a system that we're going to create that's going to make that so much easier than you can possibly imagine. I just had to unpack 17 years of knowledge, 300 flips later, and get it into a video. That is much harder than it sounds. I'm going to tell you that right now. As a guy who's just going through it right now, I was always thinking, why doesn't everybody just get a course? Why don't you just create? We all have knowledge of some kind, right? Why doesn't everybody go out and create their own content course? Then I started doing it, and I understand perfectly why everybody doesn't do this. This is super hard, okay? But it's worth it. This is the legacy I want to leave behind. This is the change I want to impact. And you, as a listener, there's several thousand of you listening to this right now. I greatly appreciate it. By the time remembering this a year from now, I want it to be hundreds of thousands. We want to get this message out there. We want to impact some life change, obviously do some coaching, yes, make some money, but also help some people to make a drastic difference in the way their lives are going to be through what we can offer in the Foreclosure Deals coaching system. I am so excited to be your Foreclosure Deals coach during this time. It's finally happening. I've been waiting for years. It's like it's my birthday. Like, I don't see the gifts yet, but it's like it's my birthday. And I'm so excited that you're all here to blow up the candle.
Oh, that's coming soon. I'm excited for it too.
With that, guys, I really appreciate you tuning in. Take the action. You got to take some massive action. You got to get going. This is not going to happen for you, okay? The market's correcting. I've got the articles to prove it. We've been talking about it for ages, but now's the time. This is the place. This is Donnie Corum, your Foreclosure Deals coach, thanking you once again for tuning in each and every week to the show and reminding you now and always, don't buy a house, buy a deal.
Want more of the Foreclosure Deals Coach? Like our Facebook page, Foreclosure Deals Coach. The latest in real estate and foreclosure investing. Become a part of our community. Search Foreclosure Deals Coach on Facebook to join today.